Welcome to the Sorare FP. MLB is almost over. NBA is about to start. Episode. I'm joined today by Nate from Sorare Edge. Sorare Edge does a bunch of NBA stuff, stuff that we don't do. So, hey, welcome, Nate. Nate from Sorare Edge. Sorare Edge does a bunch of NBA stuff, stuff that we don't do. So, hey, welcome, Nate.
All right, I'm hearing a little echo.
Yeah. Do you have YouTube open in the background? This has happened to me before.
All right, I'm hearing a little echo. All right, close that. All right. Are we good?
Yes, you figured it out quicker than I did. So
all right. Well, that was pretty easy. Okay, yeah. So where would you like to start?
Why don't you start by telling everyone about Sorare Edge? I kind of just mentioned this, but like Sorare FP, we did NBA last year. We and I know a lot of the folks that use us for MLB play NBA, but we just don't have the time really to put into it. So we've stopped doing it. So I just signed up for your Patreon. I'm looking forward to it. I know a lot of the folks in our Discord have been using your projections and whatnot, but could you explain kind of how it works and what you got going on?
Sure. So we have kind of a three-pronged approach here. So we have the my main sheet, I call it, which is basically a tracker that uses past performance data. I have over 11,000 game logs that I'm pulling off of here. And so this is my main sheet. And we break it down into, I have a lot of little headers at the bottom, but we're looking at team defenses. We're looking at both the daily projections and the game week projections based on whatever the daily is this particular day. So today we've got the dishing dimes. But I have a whole, let's see if I got this a whole big list of game logs basically for every player in the league going back through the day after the trade deadline last year. And so what we do is we look at performances. I've built formulas that calculate Sorare points. And then we're looking at standard deviations of all those results. We're looking at an average point per minute of each player. And then we project minutes. I use RotoWire to project the minutes. Felt like they were really accurate last year. This first couple of weeks will probably be a trial and error process, but they were really good last year. So we're going to use them for minutes. And then the defensive factors here, basically what I've done is I took last year's statistics, so all 82 games for each team, and then we've calculated how many points allowed for each team. And then I've got the league averages up above here. And basically what we do is we find the difference between each team's points allowed and the average points allowed. And so like, let's say somebody's playing against Atlanta, they're going to get about a 5-point boost here to their score, to their projection. If they're playing against Boston, we're going to take away about 5%. So adds that into our calculation. So when we're looking at our projections, we're looking at expected minutes times points per minute. And then we're getting a base projection. Each game has its own projection based on the matchup. And of course, we're looking for top scores. We want to hit as high as we can. So we're looking for the highest projection they have in a current game week. That's the max. And then we take the max and we subtract the standard deviation to get a low end estimate. And we add the standard deviation to get a high end estimate. So this is like a range, a floor, and a ceiling for each player. Nice. And then we're looking for that ceiling. So we're trying to hit as high as we can, take the ceiling minus the current L10 score, and we can find like a little value metric here. And so you'll see Josh Giddey at the top. So he wasn't playing much at the end of the year for OKC. That L10 went all the way down to 17, but obviously he's, in a new situation. We'll see what he looks like, but I think he's a great play this week. So 17 L10, I've got his ceiling around 48. So he's obviously definitely in play, but like you'll see a whole list of these guys and you can organize this sheet. Basically I give you access for this when you sign up. You have viewer access, but viewer access lets you sort everything that you can do on Google Sheets. And then When you get into the daily projections, we're looking at the dishing dimes today. So I've set my calculations to 3-point assists instead of 1.5-point assists, and it'll give you a little different projection points per minute based on all that. And so you get some different guys with some different outcomes here. Obviously, LeBron is good in this situation because he's getting a lot of assists.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's kind of an interesting way to look at it. The subscription service is $5 a month, and it gets you access to this sheet. And then I build gallery organizers. I'll give you kind of an example of one I'm in the middle of right now. I love when Google Sheets goes like huge on the font here. Okay, so yeah, I'm just in the middle of building this. I do these by hand. This guy's got a pretty big collection. It's about 250 cards, but I pump these out pretty quickly. And basically, this just gives you that top end ceiling projection. It multiplies in their card bonuses. So you kind of have to keep up on that or just periodically update them. And then it'll give you a calculation for this current game week. It pulls over the L10s, and then we'll give you that current game week projection minus the L10. So you'll see where your values are. You can also just sort by the current game week score. If you want to find who your MVPs are, put those guys at the top. So it's just a way to get yourself organized. And then as you use them, you can just plug in a little drop-down menu here for whatever lineup you're putting these guys in. Get yourself organized. You can easily build your lineups quickly. And yeah, so that's basically what I'm offering. And then we have a private Discord for members where we're just discussing things, and I'm doing updates. And there were some guys that didn't play in the second half of last year who don't have projections in my system because I don't have any game log information for them. So they're just sitting there basically. So I updated all those guys if I think they're good plays or not.
Nice.
And yeah, we just kind of go from there. So do you want me to try to break down the dish and dimes daily for you?
I would love that. Yeah. So, and 1 second, I want to check this because I know, and we talked a little bit before we jumped on just, so that sounds like people are getting different daily games. Is that right?
Yeah. So what we kind of were discussing in the Discord was I think some of the new players who just signed up are getting something called daily pickup, which is not a dishing dimes game. Like that's not part of the dishing dimes thing. It's just a traditional style lineup build. So those would be people who maybe haven't won a card or haven't bought a limited card, or just signing up. I think you have to graduate out of that. They do that with some of this stuff. So, but for the rest of us who are veteran players or at least have a limited card, you're going to see the dishing dimes as the daily game today. And I guess that'll just change every day. I don't know exactly when they update it, but early in the morning, probably.
Yeah. All right. So I finally found where like not common is for the daily stuff. So I've been going, like I've just been kind of checking it, and I do this and it would come up with the common daily hoops game, and I didn't see like any options to do anything else. I was like, is it just a common game? But I'm seeing now, and usually I do this on my phone, which is probably why I couldn't see it, although so rare. Like people do this on their phone. I don't know that even showed up for me,
Yeah,
like on mobile Chrome. But so, and clicking on that brings up, it looks like limited and rare and other options. So that makes sense. Yeah, I was like, I thought there was more to it than just a common game.
yeah, you can play limited. I saw that available. Yeah, I think things look different definitely on a PC or a Mac than they do on your phone. I know that happened with like the marketplace in the MLB stuff.
Stuff just
I couldn't get
disappears.
through to put bids in on my phone, but I could on the computer. So I don't know. I think they're still working through all this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
all right. So if I'm going to be playing in limited, what do you got for me? Who should I?
Yeah. So basically, what I do is I put the 3 points in for the assists instead of the 1.5, and I'm getting new numbers, new rankings, and I've got these organized by ceiling points basically right now. So LeBron comes up top. He would probably be your ideal MVP because you do get an MVP and then 120 points. And I'd made my lineup before I realized they were going to do dishing dimes on this. And I actually kept it the same just because it worked out so perfectly. But You've got Brunson, obviously, is a really good play here. Anthony Davis, all the normal names, and then you get down to like D'Angelo.
What's Gobert doing up there?
So where's Gobert? 11. Okay, so Gobert actually still a good value, even though he's not much of an assist guy, obviously.
Right.
So his normal value was pretty close to that, I think, without the assists. So I think that's why he's there. He's still a decent play, I would think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw that in MLB too when they did the reverse power ones. It's like, yeah, like Araya is a great guy because he hits a lot of singles, but like it turns out Soto and everyone, like all the good hitters are also still getting a lot of points too.
Yeah. So if you have a good base to work with, sometimes it doesn't matter that you're not really part of the special weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess some guys who are kind of interesting. Pritchard was one of the top value plays this week, regardless, with that L10 of just 10 right now. But with the dishing dimes, I've got him high 30s, and he could go higher than that depending on how many minutes he gets. But Celtics cut Lonnie Walker, which was kind of surprising. I thought he would kind of cut into their minutes, and so it looks like it's going to be Hauser and Pritchard again at that backup wing spot, 2 guard.
Has there been anything else about Walker? Like I thought I saw he might end up in Europe. Is that, you heard anything?
I'm sure it's possible. I hope he signs on somewhere. I think he's pretty good. He's the fact that he's not on a team is, kind of crazy. It tells you how deep the league is right now.
Right.
But I'm assuming somebody will sign him. I mean, I'm sure there's a chance he ends up in Europe. That's where good players go who aren't in the NBA. So I hadn't heard anything else other than that they cut him last week, and it was a little bit surprising. So, I guess we'll see. But yeah, so one of the things the sheet can do here, I mean, you don't really have to do this with the dishing dimes because you have so many points to work with. But if you don't have one of the rookies that's going to play, like I have a Dalton Knecht, and I think he's going to be used pretty regularly with the Lakers. They've been looking to fill that spot of a wing shooter for a long time, and he looks like the real deal. He had that 35-point crazy game in the preseason, and then they sat him out the last preseason game to make sure he was ready.
Yeah.
But he's a 0, so you can fit around him if you want. But if you don't have one of his and you need to get value, I'd say it's Pritchard. So you can sort here. It's just an easy data sort range. I just select everything first by clicking that little thing in the upper left, and then we do an advanced, and we're just going to sort by the value metric here by N. Yeah. We want the top values at the top. And so, Pritchard pops in this model for sure. 28. Next guy down is 22. And it's actually your guy Gobert. Luke Cornett, you could fit in there. Not a big assist guy, but again, with an 8, if you need some space, if you need some filler, he's a good guy to look at here. Sam Hauser is a 12. He's going to play.
Yeah.
Also not an assist guy, but 32 for a ceiling, you can work that in. So I think there's a lot of ways to go here, but obviously you want as much scoring punch as you can at the top, and then you fill in around it.
Yeah. So, something that I've seen kind of people discussing a little bit, I'm sure this has come up in your Discord, but like, is there kind of, what are people's thoughts on putting your cards in the daily game versus the kind of normal game week, and like how are people handling that?
Well, I always like to zig when people zag, and I've noticed my 25 or so guys that I have playing NBA, nobody's even talking about the daily games until today. Everybody who's submitted a lineup for me to look at, it's been a regular game week lineup. Yeah. So I think people are focused on the traditional lineups. I think the daily might be a way for you to, build up essence. I think my strategy is going to be with the common dailies. I'm just going to keep turning cards over, dropping and picking up until I run out of points, basically. But try to get the best lineups in the common dailies that I can until until that dries up on me. But they're going to keep giving us common cards. We're going to keep earning common cards. So there's always going to be more stuff you can do. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, actually. And then as far as like the limited dailies go, we'll have to watch the numbers the first couple of weeks and see where people are playing. But obviously, with less competition, you have a better chance to win. So we'll see. Let's see how it shakes out. I'm very curious. I'm excited to get the season started. It's been a long ramp up here, but we're finally here. And yeah, hopefully we can get some information these first couple of weeks that helps us decide what the best course of action is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. It looks like, so yeah, a bunch of Essence, and I haven't checked. I think is it 50 the lowest tier for Essence, I guess, to trade in your Essence? Do you know?
Yeah, I think so. I looked at that a couple of times. I don't know. Have you bought any in-season cards? And
I bought a handful. So I started a Pacers collection. So I got all the cheap guys from the Pacers so far, and that was about it. Yeah, so I've got just a handful of stuff from that, but no, I haven't. Like I was saying before, I'm still going to be knee deep in baseball for another couple of weeks or so, and then kind of figuring out what we're going to do for the off season and making a schedule for that. But I'm looking forward to getting in on NBA. So I do have NBA, but I did start with my common stuff, and like you said, I was just kind of flipping guys around to see what I could do. It's interesting to see kind of how they did it with the kind of scores, being how much the players cost, and then rookies or anyone under 10 being 10. I'm assuming they're going to do something similar for next year with baseball. So I think this will be fun to see. And I can't find where anything is on here. Oh, let's see. Do you know what I do to find my it's my club. I've got it. It's just also intuitive. There it is, hiding. All right, so I've got 16 points left. Do you have any thoughts on who? I also hate how it brings up the ad screen and not like my roster, because I look at this and I'm like, how did I end up with Wemby and Jokic and Giannis?
Yep,
and Luka?
I had the same thing. I'm like, where did I get all these extra cards? And then realized that that was the ad screen. Yeah, that would be nice if they changed that to the drop screen.
Right.
Well, I think you can play Lonzo. Let's go up to the top.
Yeah.
So Edie, you can definitely play. He's a great play right now with.
And I got 2 of him, so I was just like, you know what, 10. It seems like he'll be worth more than that at some point, right?
Yeah. You can definitely play him. Strother, I really like, but I don't know if Murray's back or not. If Murray's back, he probably has a small role to start. Lonzo Ball, I think, even with 14, 15 minutes to start the season at a 0, I mean, you can throw him out there for sure. Dillingham, I don't think is probably going to play as much as people think. That's an established team. He's going to have to earn his minutes. They've got Alexander Walker, who kind of solidified himself as like a really good defender last year. And that's probably what they want in a backup point guard. So Dillingham's going to have to figure it out as the season goes on. Well, you got a lot of rookies. Reed Shepherd looks like they like him a lot. Obviously, he was a high pick, so they should like him a lot. But is he going to be able to earn some minutes right away? He'll probably play a little bit out of the gate, but maybe 12 to 15. I can't imagine he's much more than that.
So I'm kind of thinking, and I don't know, and again, I haven't been following the NBA super closely, but with Houston's team, it seems like they're probably gonna end up kind of like the Spurs did at times, or just like weird lineups. Like I could see him getting 30 minutes one night, and then be kind of the 6th or 7th or 8th guy, the next night. They're going to have a lot of options. I think a lot of young guys, and I think it's going to be a lot of figuring out how those pieces fit together.
As injured as they were most of last year, they obviously start this season pretty healthy. So they've got a lot of talent on this team.
Yeah.
I just don't know. He's 6'2". I don't know where he fits. They've already got Van Fleet out there. Can they put 2 tiny guards out at the same time? Usually teams don't do that. I don't know. I think he's a bench piece, at least to start, and then we'll see who gets hurt. Jalen Green just got a huge contract, so they play the same position. I don't know really what their plan is, but they've got some interesting pieces coming back. You got Steven Adams in the mix now. Şengün is obviously back. Tari Eason was out for a long time last year. He can really play. He's going to be back. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's usually just based on when guys get hurt, and then you're playing based on where their L10 is when somebody else gets hurt. So that's one of the things we look at Sorare Edge, and we'll try to identify that for you.
Yeah. And my other thought with these, and so I mean these are all the guys I think I picked Wemby myself, and then I think I've kind of bought the rest of these or traded in. But so with MLB, it started like you picked your team based on their L10, but then once you started exchanging during the season, it was based on their card value. It's like how much they were selling for. And I don't know if that switch, if that's going to flip here or not, but if it does, I'm assuming the rookies are going to be kind of more expensive than kind of relatively similar players otherwise. So
yeah, I think it's all based on a percentage of their current L10 score. That's what it looks like for me. Like it's 80% of their L10 score or something like that. So like Pritchard, if you dropped him, you get 8, but he's L10 is 10. 56, 45. I mean, it looks like it's about 80%. So whatever their L10 score is, I'm assuming you'll be able to drop them for 80% of that. So if their L10 score goes up, you could actually maybe gain a couple points. That'd be kind of a fun little twist on the game. The common game, I think they did a nice job with this. I think this is going to be pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm liking it too. It's all the stuff that I'm seeing, it seems like they're doing a pretty good job of kind of iterating and getting better season to season. So that's been good to see.
I mean, Sorare itself is really a work in progress. We're at the beginning of it here, first couple seasons of their MLB and NBA content. And I think they're moving in the right direction. It's just, it's too slow for a lot of people. I understand that, but I think they're at least on the right track. So
yeah, I think it's a good start with the daily stuff. We'll see how it goes, but I mean, my issue with NBA has always been, and I've always said, like, I'm a bigger NBA fan than I am a baseball fan, but the game itself, like, I have more fun with baseball, and I've always just kind of thought baseball is a better fantasy sport. Like, it's just, there's so much data that's thrown off, and it's a kind of a different animal, but with the NBA game for Sorare, you kind of got to be looking at those guys, kind of looking at lineups for like right before lock to see, who's going to sit out and then who's going to get, 3 times as many minutes as they normally get and all of that. So it's, if you don't have the time to commit to it for that hour before lock every week, it's a lot less fun. But with the daily game, if you've got time on a Tuesday, you're getting ready to watch a game, you can probably set a lineup and go from there. So I think that'll hopefully be a little bit more fun. But
should we answer that question for DJ Local here?
Yeah, DJ Local's asking about a budget to start an NBA to at least have some fun. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, obviously it really helps to have a couple of like the big marquee names like the Jokic, the Luka, obviously Wemby, or one of those guys. You don't really need them though. You can play underdog without those guys and have a lot of fun with it. And that's basically a lot of what my sheet does, is identify like the real value plays. So I would say if you had $100, you could buy up a decent amount of lower level players, even some like second or third tier stars, and you can make pretty good contender lineups and underdog lineups just from the jump with classic guys, and you can win those in-season cards, and then you can either sell them or you can, if you get enough of them, obviously you can make a lineup, or if you can supplement them along the way if you like. But yeah, I think $100, you can start with $100. You can have a pretty good time with this.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that makes sense. Seriously, so rare. So the team filters still don't work. That's great. So yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think if you're interested in playing champion, I think you absolutely should be getting an MVP. I think the ones that I think if you're going to do it, I think you just need to bite the bullet and decide which one or ones you want to get, and not, I don't think it's worth it necessarily to try and use Jason Tatum as an MVP in champion against all the Lukas and Jokic's. So, I mean, that would be, I think Embiid or Giannis, maybe a few, maybe like AD or maybe like SGA could be. I don't know kind of what your thoughts are on that, but I feel like it's probably not worth it to try and play champion without at least having a couple of the real big names. But for contender and underdog, yeah, I think you can do it with whatever. I was just going to look at the Rockets that we were just talking about to see, like, if you just wanted to build like a Rockets team. So like Şengün's $14. Thompson, who might be playable. He's another one where, I mean, it looks like he's going to fill stat lines, but I don't know.
Oh, I really like him.
Yeah.
35,
but yeah, I kept him in my season long, and it'll be interesting to see how he plays out, but like, it looks like he could do well. But I mean, yeah, you could put together the entire Rockets team for like $40. You could probably do this with another team. And just kind of mix and match and go from there. But yeah, that's what I've been telling people in terms of kind of building. And I think this goes for MLB as well as NBA, is when you're just getting started, I would say pick 2 teams, build collections with them. I mean, especially in NBA, because those guys that are, at the, end of the rotation, that are only there because of their collection score, are only there until like someone gets hurt or they suddenly have a role or whatever, and like suddenly those are the guys that you're putting in your lineup. So I think if I was starting from scratch now, I would, like I said, for the in-season cards, I bought I'm going to put together a Pacers collection. I'll probably do one more. Last season I did the Mavs and the Suns and the Bucks. And so now I've got, a Luka and a Giannis. I can kind of fit those in, however, but that's what I've been looking at. But yeah, I think you're right. I think $100 is probably good. I would say if you want to do champion, I mean, I would probably look at $500, something like that, to play limited. And honestly, rare isn't that much more expensive. It seems like you could for sure play rare for $500 if you wanted to. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah. Can I show you one more thing on my sheet?
Yeah, for sure. Let me bring that up.
All right. So one of the things we track here is, let me just got this thing in the way here. All right. So all the way on the far right here, you'll see this L10 change. And basically, if a player has 10 games, 10 game logs, go all the way up here. I'll just use AJ Green as the example here. You can see when the bigger performances are going to fall off and when their L10 is changing. So before Sorare changes it on the website, you can actually see it in my sheet. So, my members have access to all this. You could parse through all this. I do have another, I think I put it on the game week projection at the far right. Yeah, I called it a value radar, basically. So it takes the top value for each guy. So if I'm looking in my game logs, Josh Giddey's last game, his value radar went down 2. So he went from a 19 to a 17 or whatever. But this will show you, like, during the season when I put in a new round of game logs. So each day I add the new game logs for that day. It'll show you how their value changed or what their L10 change was. And you can identify these guys before Sorare changes it on the website. And it's a great way to find. You can find guys for $1 or $2 that are going to be popular. And next time you look, they're selling for $5 or $6. So this happened a lot last year. And I was like skeptical of it. I didn't want to pull the trigger on a lot of this stuff because I thought, well, what if it doesn't work? And then I'm stuck with 5 Devontae Grahams or something.
Hodge Gibsons and
So, but normally we can identify them before the crowd gets to them, which is great.
Yeah.
And you can make a little bit of money that way, just flipping. And if you can't flip them, now that we have the multi-entry, you can just play them all. So let's say you bought 3 of somebody thinking, oh, I'm going to flip them. And then you can't flip them. You can just use them. So I think that's a good way to do it too. You start with $100, you find a couple of like low priced guys along the way here that people are going to want, and then either flip them, make a little extra money that way, or just use them in your lineups. So that'll be something we're looking at all season.
Nice.
But yeah, this is going to be so fun. I'm really excited for the season to get kicked off tonight and get the thing rolling, because it's been like this first couple of weeks, the first couple of weeks are going to be really difficult. We think we know who's going to play and how many minutes, but we really don't. We'll have to see how these teams fit together, how the rotations look. And that just takes some time. It takes a couple of weeks of watching the minutes numbers and seeing how the coaches are using all these new players and new spots. So we're going to do our best the first couple of weeks to figure it out, but these are anybody's best guess at this point. So, a little grain of salt the first couple of weeks here until we really get some rotations nailed down.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it'll be interesting to see what happens. The last thing I was going to check was just kind of in-season prices versus classic prices. Have you been tracking that much at all, or do you have any grasp on kind of what?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but I haven't looked too deeply into the in-seasons. I mean, I've been watching the auctions a little bit. It seems like they're at least 2 to 3 times more expensive for the role players, and then the stars are quite a bit more expensive.
Yeah.
So, I always tell people, just focus on the classics if you're starting out, because it's going to be really hard to win the in-season comps if you don't put a lot of money into it right away.
Right.
And you can win those guys. Like if you have good classic lineups, I mean, that's fun to me. I don't know, maybe that's not fun to some people, but that's fun to me to like be able to, the skill part of the game. This is obviously like Sorare's kind of pay to win and kind of strategy, but the strategy part of it is a lot more fun to me. So that's the classics, earning your in-season cards, and then either figuring out whether you want to sell them or play them and subsidize your in-seasons, or just sell them when you get them and make a little profit.
Yeah.
But everybody's got a different strategy. Some people have a lot of money and they don't really care about winning $200. It's nothing to them. So, and then others are like, oh, I won $10. That's awesome. And they get all excited. So
yeah, no, and yeah, everyone's playing the game differently, which I think is one of the cool parts. But yeah, some people are, hyper focused on, kind of ROI and like, well, if I put $100 in, I want to make sure I get that out. And other people are just like, this is my hobby. I don't like, some people, drop money on Pokemon Go or, whatever. And this is like their New York Times game subscription, where it's a fun thing to do. But yeah, I wanted to check, where do we have like how many people are registered? But so Champion Rare is paying out to 1/50th, and I feel like someone had said there were only like 175 people signed up for it so far. So there might be a gap there with
well, these multi-entries definitely help the number of entrants. So 7,900 in the contenders in limited right now, 6,000 in underdog. So that's obviously way up from where we were last year, but obviously, 3 entries a person. So, we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. They're going to have to figure out their pricing and all that, but I think they're on the right track. Got some cool new features this year. So,
yeah. And for those of you that don't play soccer, I know in soccer they just changed. They just tweaked how like Essence works. So I think expect that too. I think don't, however it's set up now, don't have your heart set on like it's always going to be 50 for, the lowest Essence tier or whatever. They're going to play with it. So, whether it gets better or worse, I think it'll probably be just them kind of figuring out what makes sense for them. But yeah, just be aware of that. I just don't want anyone to get their hopes up and then be upset when they take something away or whatever. Things are going to change for sure. But all right. Well, anything else you got for us, Nate, or you ready?
I think that covers the daily. Got to
All right.
subscribe if you want all the game week data.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, please go check Nate's Patreon out. It's Sorare Edge. But yeah, it's I'm looking forward to getting into it too. And again, Nate, no rush on my gallery page because I won't be doing anything till after the World Series. But
Well, I do work, so I mean, I have a day job. This isn't exactly paying all my bills. So
what?
yeah, and unfortunately, I work evenings, so like it syncs up with games starting sometimes. So I work tonight and Friday night. So I go at about 3:30. So I'm gonna miss the tip of both of those.
Yeah.
But we build organizers at night and in the morning, and get people signed up, get them main account access, so they at least have something to look at when they sign up. So I can do that from my phone usually, which is nice. So.
Okay. One last question for you. I've got some Jaren Jacksons, and I was going to be playing him. It looks like he's sitting out. Do you have any thoughts on who I could replace him with?
Well, Edie is the 0L10 guy that obviously is the easy replacement for Jackson, but he's hard to find. He's expensive.
Yeah.
He's only in season, obviously. Santi Aldama is probably going to start, and he's a guy that, like his skill set, but he's, I think, like a 30 L10 right now, so that's pretty high for him. He's had games where he's hit 50s and 60s in the past. I doubt he does that in the opener here, but not out of the realm of possibility. I think you're going to see, let's see who else on Memphis. Obviously, more opportunities for Desmond Bain. I think he's a good play this week. John Morant is back, so it's not like Memphis doesn't have other firepower. But front court wise, I think it's Aldama starting at power forward and Edie at center, and probably more minutes than normal for both of them.
Don't have him in there.
You just keep talking Grizzlies.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking more what his L10 is. Like, who can I replace him with around the same?
Oh, Jackson. Okay,
so he's a 39. So he's a 39. So
39. Yeah. So Bain is a 38. So Bain would be a good handcuff there for Jackson. So
nice.
you're gonna get some value out of Bain today, I think, or tomorrow, or whenever that game is. What did I do? Yeah, I do like Bain. Let's get you a projection on Bain here. Where did he end up? I know he was. Here he is, 18. Yeah, I've got his top end at like 56.5. So he looks like a really nice play here. 38 L10, 35-minute projection, 1.05 points per minute. So he looks like a nice play this week. And that Utah team is one of the two worst defensive teams in the league. So this is a good matchup play too. Yeah, he's probably the guy at 38. I think I had him. We can organize this by L10, so I can just sort by column N. And then we'll do a second sort by their ceiling projection. So P. And then when we go down to 39, you should be able to see who your best. Got Jalen Williams up here, 48. But then we go down to Bain, and he's higher at 56. I think he's probably the highest when we get under 39. That's what it's looking like.
Where do you have Booker at?
Let's see here. Here's Booker, 39. I've got him at 53, so he's right next to Bain.
Nice, good, because I have a Booker and I don't have a Bain. So.
Oh, okay. Well, then you can do that.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, within a point. So.
Awesome. Rock on. Well, thanks a lot. I'm looking forward to using this during the season, and yeah, we'll have to have you back on again. Yeah, have fun at work tonight. Sorry you don't get to watch the games.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll get the late game.
Nice. All right.
All right, Kevin. Good talking to you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it, Nick.
All right.
All right. We're gonna remove his screen. All right. So that ends the NBA portion of our stream. I'm going to be doing a quick MLB check-in to see what's going on now that we know what the World Series is going to be looking like. And thankfully, Sorare finally put the new game week in, so we can start playing around with that. So for those of you that subscribe, we can't we can't put it in the app until Sorare has the game week show up in the API. And so that until this morning, I don't think that had happened, but it is there now, so we can start looking at who we can play with. So after this, let's see, I've got about 10 minutes before I've got to go. But this afternoon, I'm going to get those initial projections out, and we'll be able to do a quick rundown on what we're looking at. So the plan will be to do another stream like normal on Friday for MLB to talk about the upcoming World Series. But for now, I just wanted to take a look at what my options might be and going from there. I'm sure none of you are following closely my trials and tribulations, but I've been in first in the rare champion chase until this last game week, where I did a terrible job of picking my teams. I went from first to 14th. It's only a difference of approximately $8,000, so that's great. But yeah, so Dewey's up top now. He's at 1,026. Couple guys are there around 1,000. And then a bunch of people are going to be bunched in the 900s. So, I think to some degree, anything can happen. Like we kind of talked about early on, these late game weeks are probably going to be the ones with some big scores. The World Series is going to go at least 4 games, but probably 5 or 6, maybe 7. So it's going to be a lot more points. So that it's going to be replacing one of those lower weeks. So my worst lineup was 125 points, it looks like. And I was 57th that week, 55th with 160. Game week 3, 31st with 166. So, the 125 is the one that's going to get replaced. And what we've seen before in these last weeks is that even if 2 managers are, kind of competing and are playing somewhat similar lineups, the fact that I'm replacing a 125 and maybe Dewey's replacing a 180 or something like that means that I'm getting a free, 40 points from that. Because I'm going to start adding on to my total sooner. And so there will be some moving around. It'll be fun to see what happens here. On the other hand, the way this chase is working, we're down to only 2 teams left. So there's going to be a lot of duplication in lineups, I think, and this is what I want to look at. I mean, I think I don't know that I need to check the projections to say, I think probably Judge, Soto, Stanton, Ohtani, and Betts are probably going to be some of the top plays. Some of those other players, are likely going to kind of surprise or at least kind of they'll hit their ceiling, whereas other guys are going to hit their floor. But we could see Muncy and either of the Hernandezes. We could see Jazz or Austin Wells could easily hit three or 4 home runs during the series and be one of the top 5 players. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be a lot of coming down to what players are kind of matched up and all of that. But what I'm going to be looking at is who I can play. I know I've got Ohtani for my corner. For an in-season card. So we're going to go with him. We will probably go with Mookie at middle infielder, although I think maybe if I have a Wells, I might end up playing him there. I've got an in-season Jazz, so we're going to go with that. And we're going to go with the in-season Stanton. And one of the bigger questions that I know has been kind of bubbling about. We talked about this last time too, was kind of what to do with pitchers and flex spots. And so I'm going to take a look at kind of the projections once they're out, but it looks like Garrett Cole should go 2 games for sure. He'll probably pitch, I think, 1 and 4. I think that's how the schedule is breaking down. If not 1 and 5, and I would assume it's going to go at least 5. If it doesn't, if it goes 4, it'll be, I think kind of anything can happen with just the 4 games. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. If you've got someone that it looks like their second game would be game 5, but we saw with Cole, I think at this point, I don't think there's any pitcher that any starting pitcher that I'd be so confident in having 2 good starts right now, just because, they're playing one of the top offenses in the league on both sides. So, typically when I'm gung ho about a pitcher, a starting pitcher for a game week, it's because they're a good pitcher with a matched up against a bad offense. And you're just not going to see that here. And so, during the season, I'm a lot more likely to start like Bailey Ober over, Cole Reagans or Garrett Cole. If Ober's facing like the Mariners in Seattle and Garrett Cole is, facing the Reds in Cincinnati or something like that. So, Cole is a great pitcher. I think, for a season, he's going to put up good numbers, even when he's not having his best year. But right now, I think it's going to be a toss up between a starter getting 2 games and a reliever who's probably, again, even if it only goes 4, but more likely 5 or 6, they're probably going to get 3 or 4 appearances at least. So, I think they are going to be at least as much of a safe play as a starting pitcher would be. So, but again, we've seen, just like with the starting pitchers, all the relievers have gotten touched too, and no one's come away from the playoffs clean. So whether it's Weaver or anyone else, I think there's going to be that risk that they're going to get hit too. And so I think the one positive with relievers is going to be that they're going to get more opportunities. So, if Cole has a terrible first 2 innings, it's going to be something where he's going to get pulled and he's not going to see action again until that game 4 start. Whereas if Weaver gets blown up, in game 1 and they've got a save situation or a hold situation in game 2 or 3, they're still going to pitch him. He's still going to get that opportunity and hopefully we'll bounce back. So I think for that reason, I would probably lean Weaver, Kopech. I'd be okay with Clay Holmes. I know there aren't as many there might be for Hudson. I think there's in season, but Trinan, it's another name I don't know if I'm saying right. But yeah, so that'll be interesting. So, looking at mine, I've got Cole as an in-season option. And so that's the one thing is I'm going to be looking at, needing to balance classic cards versus in-season ones, as well as who I'm going to play where. I think I do have a chance to get back onto that podium if everything breaks right for me. So I do want to put a good lineup in here. On the other hand, in rare pro, I'm still in first, but I'm first with like 100-point lead as well. So I think I can probably, sacrifice maybe not having my best lineup in there. But I think Mookie's probably someone I'm going to keep in there, but I've mess around with the pitching just to make sure that I get all of my in-season in there. So, yeah, I don't have much. I'll probably go Cole here just to be able to use that one. And then I've got Kopech for in season. And so now I can play whoever whoever here, whether that's going to be a bat or a reliever. But I'll probably go Weaver and go from there. I think that's going to be my team. All right, I'm going to check in with the comments. I know DJ Local said, yeah, so he's got a 102 he's going to be replacing in Rare Pro. So yeah, so he very well may be catching me in Rare Pro. And I know he was close, but yeah, let's see. Let me get that submitted and see kind of where I'm at in that one. And I know this has come up before too, but I will be boosting these lineups. I just didn't do that right there, but that's a question that we've gotten a lot is, how do you use boosts? And for me, it's just I'm using those. I use them for limited every game week, and then once if it's a chase where I've got a shot, I'm going to be using them for rares. Same with now. Then in the playoffs, is I'm just going to use all my coins to boost my teams that are in contention. So that's where that is. Let's check out Pro. So I've got 1087, we got 983 in second, and the DJ Local's at 950. But if he's got 100 and I have a better one for one of my worst scores, where's my fifth best? My fifth best is 145. So again, that's something where DJ Local and I could be playing the same exact lineup, but he's going to be adding on to his total 40 points sooner than I am. So he's going to catch up right there by 40 points. So yeah, that's where that is at. What else do we have for the comments? The Eagle says to go pick up the in-season Weaver. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, they just finally released Weaver cards for the Yankees. So there's, I think, new ones being auctioned right now. It does look like they are at least ending those auctions before the game week locks, which at times they've not done the best job of that. And if Freddie plays, Freddie will be a decent play if he plays. Although I've said this before, like I always worry about someone like that where he's just not going to play as much. Where he might start a game but then starts feeling tight, or he's limping around or something like that, and that they're going to pull him. Obviously the World Series is kind of this is it, so they're going to try and get as much out of him as possible, but it's not hard to imagine a situation where he tweaks the injury and ends up not playing at all. So I would probably avoid Freeman unless he has like a clean bill of health, and I doubt, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So certainly play him if he's your best option. But if you're like last week where I was trying to decide between Stanton, Josie, and who else? Who was the other one I was looking at? It was probably one of the Mets, probably Alonso or something like that. Alonso, Vientos, those guys. And I ended up prioritizing Stanton last, and that would have gone a lot better if I had not done that. But we can't all make the right decision every time. I do need to get going, so I'm going to jump off. Like I said, we will be back here on Friday. Should be at the regular time at noon Eastern. So join us then. We'll be kind of breaking down the very last game week and going from there. If not Friday, probably next week, we'll probably have Nate on again to talk some NBA, and we'll start looking forward to the off season. I know Bob is looking forward to doing some of the fun stuff we've got planned. So we will talk to you soon. Yeah. Good luck. Good luck to everybody. And yeah, we'll be back soon.